Hey everyone, how's it going? And yeah, you read that right. This is not a special, it's an obligation. Why? Well, yeah. Simple is that I don't celebrate Valentine's Day. No, not because I'm single. Hell, if I was in a relationship, I still wouldn't celebrate it. And if I do have a girlfriend and I'm celebrating it, that is because she is a psycho who has kidnapped me. Please help me for the love of all that is holy. But whatever. First, for me, I feel like love is something to be celebrated every day. And no, you don't have to do everything big about it. You just do some small things, some nice gestures, say I love you and mean it, stuff like that. Big stuff, save that for days like Christmas, birthdays, anniversaries, the works. But whatever, you're not here, to listen to me talk about my opinions on the holiday and whether or not you should celebrate it. If you celebrate, that's fine. I wish no ill will against you. But yeah, you're here for me to talk about more Batman Long Halloween. So let's get started.
Warning, spoilers. Last we left off, Joker tried to find Holiday by blowing up Gotham Square, Batman stopped him, Holiday shot Alberto Falcone, and Harvey Dent believes that Bruce Wayne is linked to Falcone.
An average New Year's Eve for Gotham.
We open to Valentine's Day, where Alfred is greeted by Jim Gordon and Harvey Dent, who have some questions for Bruce Wayne. Alfred tells them that he's a bit busy for Valentine's Day, and he is. Meanwhile, at Gotham Cemetery, Carmine goes to see his son's grave to pay respects, but is then met by Batman, who asks him if losing his son was worth it all. Carmine pulls a gun in anger, but then Catwoman shows up and knocks it out of his hand. Turns out Batman came here for Catwoman since he's noticed that whenever he's near the Roman, she shows up, and intends to know why. Which I guess led into a fight and ended with her getting away, because we immediately cut to, I'm guessing, a few hours later where Bruce and Selina are on a date, where they have a bit of flirting and are greeted by a mysterious cloaked woman selling roses. Selina buys Bruce a rose, which leads to him getting cut by one of the thorns, but he says he's okay. Meanwhile, we see Maroni and Vernon, who is actually on the take, and even tells him that Harvey is targeting him. Maroni wants to know more, but it gets interrupted by Holiday, who has their biggest kill yet body count-wise, taking out not just the men Falcone hired to watch Maroni, but also a whole bunch of goons that worked for Maroni in the restaurant, and also we should add in that most likely hit a few civilians as well. Maroni is obviously pissed, and after seeing the standard gun, bottle top, and in this case, a box of Valentine's candy, he proclaims war on the killer. Our story ends with Jim and Harvey coming home, celebrating a late Valentine's Day with their wives, with similar boxes of candy, and Bruce returning to the manor, acting strange, well, more than usual, and going to the garden, where we see that the mysterious cloaked woman was Poison Ivy, and the rose was full of her pheromones, leaving Bruce under her control. The issue felt a bit more all over the place. We were jumping through different areas, like we opened to Gordon and Harvey wanting to know more about Bruce Wayne and the Falcone connection, which, by the way, they waited a whole month to start investigating? Really? But immediately stop when Alfred tells him that, well, Bruce isn't there, and then starts asking them about Valentine's Day plans. Then we have the whole fight with Batman and Catwoman, which ends before it could really start. And then we have the date with Bruce and Selina, which could lead to some interesting stuff regarding their characters, but that immediately ends. The only scene that felt nicely paced was really the scene with Maroni and Vernon and Holiday's attack. They are well written, just oddly abrupt. As for the characters, I really don't have anything to say about them, at least individually. In this issue, the scenes were so short, there was very little time for development. Again, they're all still well written, and though it's pretty obvious it was her under the cloak, it was still a pretty cool introduction for Poison Ivy in this story. I can't say much about her character since, well, she only really shows up for like 2 scenes, but again, good introduction. As for the suspects, again, Harvey by this point in the book does look like the most likely with his motivation, but as for skill, in this case, probably not. As we saw in issue 2, Harvey has some skill with his quick switch with Mickey, but we also saw in issue 3 that he has some trouble fighting people like the Joker, so kind of unlikely that he could be the guy to take out that many armed goons. Plus, Holiday clearly took out some civilians, and Harvey is definitely not there yet where he is willing to sacrifice the innocent. One thing I can give this issue is that this did give people more ideas of who Holiday could be by adding a new new suspect, that being Catwoman. We saw in issue 1 that she had the skills to take down some of Falcone's men. The thing though that doesn't really work is the motivation, that being that she doesn't have one. She's a thief, not a crime lord yet, and definitely didn't have a reason to attack Maroney, who's officially off the suspect list. As for art, still great, but the only new thing I can add is Poison Ivy's design here, that being my favorite. It gives her this more otherworldly look, resembling the wood nymphs in Greek mythology. Elegant, yet kinda creepy, which is all I could say there. On a whole, this issue isn't bad, but definitely felt like it was just building up stuff for later. There's still some good moments like Holly's attack and Ivy's introduction. Besides it, it's just kind of lackluster.
Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and next time we'll be following the themes of families and murder mysteries again, but this time with a little bit more of a magical touch. Plus, this one might actually become a TV show. Later.
Hey, since Netflix made this comic, would it be considered Netflix and chill if a couple read this?